I got the invitation to go on this Armed Lutheran radio show, though. You know this guy? Have you seen this? There's two things that I would like to say that make me feel safe. Number one, the fact that there is a radio show called the Armed Lutheran Podcast somewhere in the world. That makes me feel safe.
Pistols, prayer, and potluck. This is Armed Lutheran Radio.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Armed Lutheran Radio, a show about guns, hunting, competitive shooting, the natural right of self-defense, and what God's Word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. I'm your host, Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, and this is episode number 406. Thank you all so much for making Armed Lutheran Radio a part of your week again this week. Thank you to all of you who are new and just tuning in for the first time. Hope you will stick around and join us again in future, and I hope you'll go back and check out the back catalog, all the 405 previous episodes. Thank you to everyone who came and hung out with us last week for the online hangout. That was a lot of fun. Speaking of which, want to thank all the men and women who make this show possible. The members of the Reformation Gun Club, we are listener-funded, folks. We don't have any advertising. We don't have any sponsors. We rely on the good people who are members of what we call the Reformation Gun Club, whose yearly contributions keep the lights on here at Armed Lutheran Radio. People like Peter from White Bear Lake, Minnesota, Ty from Sarasota, Florida, Matthew from Nixa, Missouri, Eric from Buckeye, Ohio, Drew from Excelsior Springs, Missouri, Justin from Berryville, Arkansas, Dan from Indian Trail, North Carolina, Vincent from Tulare, California, David from Kennesaw, Georgia, and our newest member, Tim from Keyport, Washington. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you for all that you do to help us keep doing all this craziness. Folks, if you would like to join them, if you would like to find out more about the Reformation Gun Club and all the benefits that come with it, like access to hundreds of hours of exclusive content, early access to the show every week when we do release the show early. Normally we do. This week is an exception. Invitations to our online hangouts and some cool Armed Lutheran swag. Visit reformationgunclub.com. It's just $36 a year. Come sign up today. We'd love to have you join us, and we'd love to see you at our next online hangout later. Well, it'll be July, so in about 3 weeks probably. Probably not the week of the 4th. That would be crazy. Not going to do that. Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, this episode is a little late. Really sorry about that. I had planned to record with the pastor on Friday, but was not feeling well. Had a migraine that just was taking the top of my head off and did not feel like sitting in front of a computer screen or talking or opening my eyes for that matter. So thought we might reschedule it for the weekend, but the pastor had some stuff going on. Then, of course, it's Father's Day on Friday, or on Sunday, I'm sorry. So it just did not work out, and hopefully we can get together this week and record. But speaking of Father's Day, that is what I wanted to talk about today. Happy Father's Day. Yesterday was Father's Day, of course, and happy Father's Day to all of you in the audience who are fathers. We're living in a society that tells us that masculinity is toxic and that the future is even the Force. If you're a Star Wars fan, the Force is female. We have shows about two mommies, and the ones that do include a father make him out to be some kind of a clownish, worthless person. But we see, especially in the gun community, we see the importance of dads every day in the news, especially when it comes to guns and violence and crime. How many times have we heard about how the kid who gets killed by a cop in some horrible interaction, think Michael Brown, great kid, bright future, loves puppies, going to college, blah, blah, blah. But in the end, we find out He's not that great of a kid. He has no father in the home, no male father figure, no role model to keep him on the straight and narrow. All too often, it's just a single mom. But at the same time, we're told that people like Harrison Butker are hateful misogynists who should lose their jobs for suggesting that marriage and family actually matter. Go figure. Lacking anything worthwhile sports-wise to watch over the weekend, I somehow ended up watching the College World Series a little bit, at least one game. Teams from my old stomping grounds in North Carolina are still in the tournament, apparently, and I was interested to see that all the families in the stands cheering on their kids, moms and dads, watching their kids with bright futures playing in the biggest game on the biggest stage in college baseball, rather than dying in gang shootings or interactions with police. It's funny how that works. Something tells me there's a correlation between the involvement of parents and the success of kids. Just a guess on my part. But being a father isn't enough. For example, consider the biggest fathering failure in America at the moment, and that would be President Joe Biden and his son Hunter. Now, Joe Biden will tell you how proud he is of his son, how he's the smartest person that he knows, supposedly. And yet Hunter is a drug addict who snorts coke on camera off the rear end of a prostitute. A guy so addicted that he once snorted Parmesan cheese out of the carpet because he thought he'd dropped coke in the carpet. A guy so smart, so intelligent, that he left a laptop at a repair store but didn't go back to claim it. And on that laptop were photo evidence of him doing drugs and in possession of firearms and in the company of prostitutes. A computer that, of course, the mainstream media and the government deep state told us was nothing but Russian disinformation before the last election, because we couldn't have that coming out and damage Joe Biden's chances of winning. But now we know, thanks to Hunter's criminal trial this past week, that that laptop was in fact real, and the government and the media lied to us. Shocker, I know. So Hunter Biden was found guilty on federal gun charges in Delaware this week. This from the AP. Hunter Biden convicted Tuesday on all 3 felony counts related to the purchase of a revolver in 2018, when prosecutors argued that the president's son lied on a mandatory gun purchase form by saying he was not illegally using or addicted to drugs, which he absolutely was, as the laptop proved. Hunter Biden, aged 54, stared straight ahead and showed little emotion as the verdict was read after jury deliberations that lasted only 3 hours over 2 days in Wilmington, Delaware. Why does it take 3 hours over 2 days? I mean, seriously, just get it done. And I don't know. Our justice system makes no sense to me. He hugged his attorneys, smiled wanly, and kissed his wife, Melissa, before leaving the courtroom with her. Joe Biden said in a statement issued shortly after the verdict that he would accept the outcome and continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal. Well, good luck with that. Now, Hunter Biden and presumptive Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump, the president's chief rival, have both been convicted by jurors in an election year. Of course, they got to get that in. Hunter faces up to 25 years in prison when he is sentenced by a U.S. district judge. Though as a first-time offender, he would not get anywhere near the maximum, and there's no guarantee the judge would send him to prison at all, since she has not set a sentencing date as of yet. That was as of this report. I don't know whether one has been set since. Defense attorney Abby Lowell said they would continue to vigorously pursue all legal challenges available. Again, good luck with that. The jury's decision was read swiftly after the announcement that it reached a verdict. First Lady Jill Biden, the smartest and greatest doctor of our time, Dr. Jill Biden, sat through nearly every day of the trial but did not make it into the courtroom in time to hear the verdict. Hunter Biden walked out of the courthouse holding hands with the First Lady and his wife before they got into waiting SUVs and drove off. See, this is also another example of just how corrupt our criminal system, our justice system is. Here's a guy who's convicted on a gun charge, on 3 gun charges, who walks out and gets into waiting SUVs to be whisked away, where if it were you or me, we'd be in jail waiting for sentencing. Then, of course, you got to get in a couple of more paragraphs reminding everyone that Trump was convicted of something that has nothing to do with this. But you got to get that in there just to make sure everybody doesn't forget that Trump was also convicted. So, under normal circumstances, it would be easy to feel sorry for Joe Biden. Kids can and do make bad decisions and screw their lives up despite good parenting. And it's heartbreaking when that does happen. Chief of sinners that I am, I can certainly attest to this, and some of you maybe can attest to this as well. I made some incredibly bad decisions in my youth. I wasn't 54 when I did them, but I walked away from the faith at one point. I was one bad decision away from altering or potentially ending my life or the lives of others. And this after being raised by a devout woman in a Christian home. But what I lacked was a father in my home. Now, I had an amazing man, an uncle, who filled the gaps to the extent that he could. But he wasn't there every day with a shoulder to lean on, an ear to bend, or words of wisdom and encouragement to share. So it would be very easy to find sympathy for Joe Biden as his son strayed from the path, a path of privilege and ease, except for the fact that Joe Biden actually took advantage of his son and used him. He put his crack-addled son in positions to rake in tons of money for doing nothing except for being a Biden, for peddling influence and selling the Biden name to foreign countries, allegedly. And what does a guy who's addicted to drugs and prostitutes do when he has tons of cash and no real responsibilities and no real job do, other than making sure that the big guy gets his cut? He does more drugs and more prostitutes. And he makes even more bad decisions, like lying on a Form 4473 when buying a gun, and then disposing of the gun in a dumpster near a school, and leaving a laptop with tons of photo evidence against him at a repair shop where it goes completely unclaimed. Joe Biden is a garbage human being. He is a terrible president. He is a garbage parent. So to all the Joe Bidens out there, Father's Day was not for you. You guys suck. You had one job, the most important of your lives, and you botched it. All of you who father children and walked away from that responsibility, Father's Day is not for you. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't fathers out there who lose their kids in divorce, but who are still trying to do the right thing and be a good dad. These comments are not aimed at you. I'm talking about the ones who walk away from their responsibilities. or who fail to make the best of bad situations and continue to be good role models for your kids. Not talking about you, talking about the bad ones. Father's Day is for real dads, real fathers, not just the biological ones either. The stepdads, the foster dads, the adoptive dads, the men who make the effort to actually be a dad, to be a good role model, to teach your kids the right way, to provide that stability, the advice, the support that your young kids need. The ones who work and sacrifice and scrape to pay the bills, to put food on the table, to put clothes on your kids' backs. The ones who sit through the band concerts, the sporting events, the practices. The ones who help with the homework, who chaperone the field trips, who go to the daddy-daughter dances. The ones who pray with their kids. The ones who pray for their kids. Happy Father's Day to all of you. And thank you for what you do. America would certainly be a better place if we had more of you. And if America actually had the fortitude as a society to encourage more men to be like you. Thank you, and God bless all of you. That's all I've got today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your support. Again, go check out the Reformation Gun Club. Check out all the books that we have available, new ones coming out next year. Still have the opportunity, if you would like to pre-order the newest book or the buy the entire trilogy, and which includes the new book that's coming in January next year. You can be a character in the new book. A handful of good folks have already taken me up on that opportunity and will appear in the book. So check that out, armedlutheran.us/books. Also, speaking of books, I'm going to have a batch of books coming in this week. So signed copies of Duty to Defend will be available again. So look for that on the Armed Lutheran shop as well. Tune in next time. Hopefully I'll be able to schedule some time to get together with the pastor and do another Clinging to God and Guns. Until then, keep shooting, keep praying. We'll talk to you next time.
For show notes, be sure to visit our website at www.armedlutheran.us. Check out the Facebook page, The Armed Lutheran, or join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio. If you like what you hear, please leave us a comment on our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback or a review on iTunes and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Armed Lutheran Radio, a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.